Hello and welcome me everyone. Sit nicely and have a cup of tea.
How is the weather in your town? Here is raining cats and dogs.
How was your weekend? Mine was lonely. I just lost my cat, Mr. Falls, last Friday. It has been really tough without him. Anyway, in a few seconds, we are going to start our stories from today. Enjoy and don't forget to subscribe for more. Remember last Monday?
The last story was about a guy who was forced to date his girlfriend. Well, I found out why and how they broke up, and here it is. Am I an idiot for recognizing a girl I studied with?
Let's hear it.
I 22 and my girlfriend, now ex-im 21, were at the neighborhood convenience store, checking out just as it was about to close. The cashier told me I didn't look unfamiliar and that she knew me from somewhere. I hadn't recognized her at first, but then I remembered I had studied with her in high school. So, I asked her name, and I was sure it was her. We started talking about our work, and my girlfriend made a face full of pure hate. She began stomping her foot, pinching my back, and saying she was in a hurry. Since I was getting embarrassed by her behavior, I told her to get in the car and wait for me as I was almost done. She got in, but slammed the car door angrily and started honking the horn until she got tired while I tried talking to the girl. Aside from the tremendous embarrassment I was feeling, the conversation was going fine until I asked about her brother, who was a close friend of mine back in school. She simply replied that her brother had passed away at the end of December, that he had suffered an accident with a truck while working as a motorcycle taxi driver. At that moment, I was totally shocked, and I started asking how she was feeling about it and how her parents were holding up. She began to share how her family was coping with the loss, and I, of course, was listening to everything. I only left when she said my girlfriend must be tired and wanted to go home. As soon as I got in the car, my girlfriend bombarded me with questions. Why were you talking to her like she was your lover? Why did you remember the name of a girl you supposedly haven't spoken to in years? She was holding your hand while talking to you. Obviously, she was flirting. Are you that clueless? I told her to stop with the tantrum and started explaining what the girl had told me. She coldly responded, "You haven't seen this guy in years. Why act like he's still your super important friend?" I raised my voice and said, "Did you want me to leave someone who lost a relative talking by herself like nothing happened?" She fell silent, but as she was getting out of the car, I said she was forgetting a cake. She just grabbed the bag and threw it in my face. Should I have just pretended I didn't know her? Should I have left her talking alone while she shared about her brother? Did I do something wrong?
Wow, now I get it. What do you think?
Was he wrong? I found this story really interesting because it tackles such a common situation, but one that creates a lot of tension.
You know those moments when you're just trying to be polite, but the reactions of the person next to you make everything uncomfortable.
This one illustrates that perfectly.
The way the author handles the situation, trying to be sensitive to the girl who lost her brother, is really admirable.
Gain some points with me in there.
Moreover, the story makes us reflect on how small actions can trigger big reactions, especially in a relationship. It's easy to see that the author was trying to do the right thing, but his girlfriend's reaction was a bit over the top, and that adds a touch of realism to the story. In the end, the story sends a message about empathy and the importance of knowing how to deal with the emotions of those around us. But in fact, I don't really understand some of the people that date and think that the other is their property now. I mean, what? I am not a product. You didn't give me birth or anything. So why you think I'm yours? I like you, yes, but I am mine.
Do you get what I mean?
Comment if you do or don't agree with me. Okay. Our next story is, am I the asshole for evicting my brother's pregnant fiancée? Let's hear it.
I need an outside perspective on this, and if I'm being fair to a misled Sil, my two younger brothers live in Los Angeles. Housing is expensive, but each of us got an inheritance to start us off. My brother spent a chunk of it in college, and J23 recently started working, but LA is still expensive. The youngest brother, K19, is still in college. We are close. I got the lion's share and offered to cover rent on a 2-bedroom for the boys for nearly 2 years now. Last year, Jay brought a lady home, and Kay thought she would be a visiting girlfriend like the past ones, but she never left. They had been dating for about 3 months, and she landed in some housing problems, so he helped. Kay was fine with this, he told me, so I didn't question it. I met her over video. 4 months ago, they came home for the weekend, announced their engagement. She was quiet. They said shy, introverted. One-word answers and insisting on leaving quickly. When they returned to the apartment, Lady L told Kay he should consider college hostels because they have wedding planning coming up, and after that, a marriage cannot start with guests in the house. We believe Jay told her he owns the place and is helping out his little brother. She made life difficult for Kay, passive aggressiveness, outright asking when he's leaving, engaging in adult acts in the living room to make him uncomfortable. She also walked around and glowed. Kay took too long to tell me. The kid never complains or asks for much, so when he did, I went to them. I spoke to both boys, and Jay asked me not to interfere, that he's handling it. I let him. It took only 2 days of my visiting before she brought it up herself that Kay should leave now. He's been helped for over a year. We had an argument. I informed her I'd be serving her fiancé an eviction order if she didn't leave, and her too if she claimed tenancy. I own everything down to the toilet paper. She yelled hillbilly insults. Jay had to go calm her down and tell her it's true. She said she was pregnant and I'm making my baby nephew homeless. I told Jay to have her leave with her, or taint his record with an eviction. He also confirms the baby and said she refuses to be a homeless baby mother. If I push through, there's blood on my hands. I read through what he meant. That part gives me pause. They can't afford the rent on teacher's salary. His loans are taking a big chunk of it, and I did say I'll cover rent through 2026, but I won't pay to have Kay live in chaos till then. He's the only innocent here. Is there a middle ground? I love these boys. I'm responsible for them. So, am I the asshole for evicting my brother's pregnant fiancée?
How was it?
It brings up issues of family responsibility, boundaries, and the challenges of dealing with tough situations within the household.
The person who wrote the text clearly cares about their brothers and did what they thought was right by trying to keep the peace, but also protect the younger brother. The story shows that sometimes difficult decisions need to be made, even if they're not popular. Don't you agree with me? My advice would be to try, in the future, to set clearer boundaries from the start. Perhaps making it clear to the brother's fiancée that certain behaviors are unacceptable. The situation could potentially be resolved with a good conversation, without the need for eviction.
Open communication is key to avoiding these conflicts and protecting what truly matters: family.
So, what is your opinion about it?
Leave me some comments, please. Before our last story of the day, I have a new thing to tell you.
Today, we are gonna start the reading of a novel that my friend is written in her Wattpad account. It is called Between Shadows and Desires. I will leave the link of the story on the description below, and I will let you hear the first chapter in the end of our episode, deal? Okay, now is time for our song of the day, and it is called Caminhando e Entardecer. It is in Portuguese, and I am nervous about it. Okay?
I will come back soon with another cup of tea.
Flores, sentindo o vento passar, cores dançando ao redor, no campo quero ficar. O sol vai se despedindo, trazendo paz pra esse olhar. O céu pintado em tons suaves, eu só quero contemplar. Deixa a brisa me levar num suspiro devagar. Fecho os olhos pra sonhar com esse campo a me guiar. As estrelas vão surgindo como joias a brilhar no silêncio da noite. O coração a acalmar. O perfume das flores envolve todo lugar. Nesse campo ao entardecer, tudo parece parar. Cada passo traz alívio, todo medo vai embora. Nesse campo me encontrei, nem preciso de outra hora. As estrelas vão surgindo como joias a brilhar. No silêncio da noite, o coração acalma. O perfume das flores envolve todo lugar. Nesse campo ao entardecer, tudo parece parar. Cada passo traz alívio, todo medo vai embora. Nesse campo me encontrei, nem preciso de outra hora.
Hope you enjoyed it. So, I hope to hear your thoughts about it in the comments.
Okay, our last story is called Am I the Asshole for Telling the Truth About Why I Ended My Engagement to My Ex's Parents and Grandparents?
Let's hear it.
I, 26F, was engaged for more than a year but called it off in October. My family and friends knew, but not many in my ex's family and friends knew. His parents grew frustrated by the chaos in their family that seemed to follow the end of our engagement, so they and my ex's grandparents approached me to ask why I called everything off. This is so messy and I feel dumb for not worrying about it, but I'll explain what happened and what I told them. So, my ex's brother and his wife were trying to have a baby for a while and failed. Not long after my ex and I got engaged, his brother and still asked if my ex would donate sperm. They wanted to use a turkey basta and act like his brother was the biological father, but they'd be honest with the kid. My ex and I talked about it, and I was fine with it. I helped him get the samples, and his brother would come and collect them to take to his wife. It took quite a few, but it worked. Only when she got pregnant did she start acting weird toward me. She was jealous, clearly jealous. She made snarky comments toward me and glared at me when I'd see her. This went on for a few weeks. When my ex and I were shown the skin photos, she looked pissed that he was hugging me while we looked. Then she came to the house when I was alone and accused me of coming between the brothers and wanting her child to grow up an only child. This was seriously out of nowhere. It made me feel off about things, and I asked her why she was acting like a jealous girlfriend or mistress. She lost her shit and told me I needed to back off. I confronted my ex, and he played dumb. He said he had no idea why she was behaving that way. But I didn't buy it, and then his brother asked me if I thought his wife was being weird with my ex. I said yep. We both confronted them, and she asked why it mattered how she'd gotten pregnant as long as they got the result they wanted. My ex's brother almost attacked my ex. My ex was saying it wasn't like that, and that the turkey basta method wasn't working. He said it was all about his brother and how nothing else happened but in and out. He really thought we'd buy that. I walked away from him that night and gave back my ring. My ex tried to fight for me to forgive him, but I just felt foolish for agreeing to begin with. I don't know what's going on with the brother and her. I didn't stay in touch. But I told my ex's parents and grandparents that my ex slept with his brother's wife, and it got messy because of the baby. They thanked me for my honesty and apologized for asking me. A few days later, my ex DM'd me on Instagram and asked why I had to mess with his family like that. He said I fucked his brother over more than he already had. I blocked him. It was a second account I forgot about. But I feel bad if I highlighted what his brother's dealing with before he was ready to tell anyone. Am I the asshole?
It is full of intense emotions, isn't it? The way the person dealt with the situation was, at the very least, brave. She wasn't afraid to expose the truth, even knowing the possible consequences.
Her honesty was crucial, especially in such a complicated situation, and choosing to put her relationship first was a very mature move.
It was also an act of courage to face the challenges of telling something so delicate to her ex's family. The story conveys a huge emotional burden, and I admire the way the author remained firm in her decisions. Furthermore, her honesty
although it might have caused some problems, reflected her integrity.
She didn't hide behind lies or omissions, but chose to be transparent.
I believe that, despite the complications, the episode can be seen as a great lesson about self-reliance and the importance of truth in relationships.
Don't you agree with me?
And now, I leave you with my friend's story.
I really enjoyed today's episode. What about you? See you next week.
Between Shadows and Desires, Chapter 1, The Fateful Encounter.
It was a rainy night in the city, one of those when it felt like the sky was about to collapse onto the streets lit by the dim glow of aging streetlights. Isabella sat alone at the bar of a luxurious hotel, a glass of red wine in her hands. She didn't enjoy going out much, but that day had been harder than the others, and loneliness seemed to be the only companion that truly understood her. The glass walls around her revealed the rain falling incessantly outside, making the space feel even more cozy, but at the same time, more distant from the real world. Isabella had always prided herself on her independence. A successful businesswoman who had achieved everything she had through her own efforts. At 32, she knew the world saw her as an unbeatable woman, capable of handling any situation, no matter how difficult. However, deep inside, loneliness slowly consumed her. Work, endless meetings, and social commitments had distanced her from what really mattered: genuine affection. She wasn't sure when the last time was that she allowed herself a moment of pleasure without the weight of responsibility. But something about that night seemed different. Something pushed her out of her comfort zone, and instead of staying at home, she decided to allow herself a break. The bar was almost empty, except for a few people who seemed to be there for business or to escape something. And then he walked in, Gabriel, the man who, with a single glance, made time seem to stand still. He entered with a firm step, his dark suit perfectly tailored to his imposing figure. His slightly messy hair appeared even more charming under the soft light of the bar. He looked around, and his dark eyes met Isabella's as if he had been searching for her all along. She felt a shiver run down her spine, something she hadn't felt in years. Gabriel smiled enigmatically, as though he knew his presence would make an impact. He approached the bar, keeping his eyes on Isabella. When he was close, the distance between them became so small that it seemed like the world around them had disappeared. Without saying a word, he sat down next to her. Isabella didn't move, but she felt her body react in a way she couldn't understand. "May I offer you a drink?" he asked in a soft voice, but full of confidence. Isabella watched him for a moment before replying. "No, thank you," she said, feeling a strange sensation of discomfort mixed with an inexplicable attraction. "I'm not here to talk to strangers." Gabriel simply smiled again, unhurried, and with no intention of backing away. He didn't seem intimidated by Isabella's response. On the contrary, he appeared even more interested. "Sometimes strangers are the best people to talk to," he said, his eyes gleaming with an intensity that made her swallow hard. Isabella furrowed her brow. "You're very bold for a stranger," she retorted, trying to maintain the posture she always took in uncomfortable situations. But deep down, something inside her wanted to know more about this man. "Maybe I've just grown tired of being polite," he replied, smiling irreverently. "But if you prefer, I can introduce myself. Gabriel Olmeda." He extended his hand, and for a moment, Isabella hesitated, but then she gave in. They shook hands, and the electricity between them was instant. It was as if the simple touch of their hands was a warning that something far more intense was about to unfold. "Isabella," she said with a subtle smile, but her eyes never left his. Something was different about this encounter. Something was about to change in her life. But what? She didn't know yet. Gabriel leaned back in his chair and began observing her with a sharp gaze, as if absorbing every detail of her face. Isabella tried to maintain her composure, but she couldn't stop wondering what that man wanted from her. It was evident that he wasn't just there to make casual conversation. Something in his posture, in the way he looked, made it clear he wasn't interested in trivialities. "You're looking for something more, aren't you?" Gabriel asked, his voice now quieter, almost a whisper. "We all are. Some just don't know what yet." Isabella pulled back slightly, her face furrowed. "And what are you looking for?" she challenged. Gabriel fell silent for a moment, as though reflecting on the question. Then he replied, with a sincerity that took her by surprise, "I'm looking for something, or rather, someone. Something I didn't know I was looking for until now, and it seems that by chance, I've found it." Isabella felt a mix of discomfort and curiosity. It was impossible to deny that there was something in Gabriel that drew her in like a magnet. After all, she couldn't tear her eyes away from him for even a second. But at the same time, she knew she had to be cautious. Her life was well organized, and she wasn't willing to lose herself over a casual encounter in a bar. Or was it really a casual encounter? Who was this man really? "I'm not like you think I am," Gabriel said, as if he had read her thoughts. "But don't worry, I'm very good at keeping secrets." "Secrets?" Isabella asked, now even more uncomfortable, but unable to look away. "Do you really think you're going to convince me to trust you like this, just like that?" He smiled, making Isabella's heart beat faster, although she tried to ignore this reaction. "I don't need you to trust me, Isabella. I just need you to listen to me. Once." She laughed nervously. "And what do you want me to hear, Gabriel?" "That you're about to get involved in something that will change your life forever. And even if you don't want to, you won't be able to stay away from me." The atmosphere between them grew tense. Isabella felt as though she were on the verge of something unknown, something she wouldn't be able to control. Gabriel wasn't just playing a game, he was serious. And worst of all, she knew she was, in some way, attracted to him, despite the danger he represented. "You think you can manipulate me?" she asked, trying to stay firm. "I'm not that easy." Gabriel leaned forward, his gaze now even more intense. "I never said you would be easy, Isabella. I only said you don't have a choice." Isabella felt a chill run up her spine. She knew that this encounter, this man, could be the key to a new chapter in her life. Would the loneliness in her chest soon come to an end? But what would the price be? Was she willing to pay that price? She took a deep breath and stood up. "I don't know what you want from me, Gabriel, but I'm not going to let you manipulate me." Gabriel also stood up, his eyes never leaving hers. "I just want one chance, Isabella. One chance to show you who I really am, without saying another word." Isabella turned and walked toward the door, her heart racing and her mind full of doubts. She didn't know what the future held, but she knew this encounter would not be the last. Not with Gabriel. And what is it that he's truly planning for her? Who is this Gabriel? Continue.
See you next Sunday. Bye bye.